Greetings, Phantom fans! From Dan Herman, publisher of Hermes Press, showing you Volume 4 of the Charlton Phantom, complete Charlton Phantom series. A great cover by Frank Boley. The back cover is also by the great Frank Boley. This book, as with our other Charlton Comics reprints, presents you with a number of story continuities. This has Phantom number 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64. The last volume is going to focus on Don Newton, and I'll let you know a little secret. Along with that book, we're also going to bring out a huge Don Newton art book as a companion book, and we're also going to bring out a book which has the original art to several of these Phantom stories reproduced in its full size. So we're going to have a Don Newton celebration for the Phantom's 90th for the Phantom's 90th birthday. One of the things that we hear frequently is with regards to the reproduction of the Charlton strips. For those of you that don't know, Charlton Comics had the worst printing of any comic book company in the United States. They had their printing plant with their administrative offices in Darby, Connecticut. And as the story goes, the owner and his relatives actually built the plant brick by themselves. The printing on these original comic books is incredibly bad. It was my understanding that the presses that they bought to use to print these books were originally used to print cereal boxes. So the screen and the dot pattern that they use is very, very unusual and very different from the reproduction you would see from Western Publishing that published Adele and later on Gold Key, or DC Comics or Marvel Comics, the larger companies. The reproduction is much better in those companies' products than Charlton's. With these books, we've elected to clean them up, but not repaint them. So what you have is a very true reproduction, but a very clean reproduction of these Phantom stories. And these Phantom stories are quite good. They were very well written, and they're a lot of fun to read. They are of the time, that is, they are of the era when they were produced, but they hold up very well. The Charlton Phantom had a number of very fine artists working on these books. The two most noteworthy artists would be Jim O'Pero, who you would find doing Volume 1 of the Charlton Phantom. And then toward the end of the run, you had Don Newton, who was incredibly perceptive about the Phantom. And it's clear that his Phantom is clearly a labor of love in the scripting, in the shooting, in the inking, in the composition of the stories. They're absolutely incredible. But enough can't be said about this book either, and it's available now. This book, actually, this book will be in about 3 weeks. This is what's called an advanced copy of the book. But it's done. It's printed, as you can see. It has a lot of extras in it. It has a nice essay which discusses in great detail the artists that worked on, well, it discusses primarily Frank Boley, but what's interesting about this essay is it also talks about somebody who is frequently not mentioned, and it's the writer of many of these stories, Joe Gill. Joe Gill was perhaps one of the most productive writers of comic books ever. There are disputes as to who wrote more stories, but Joe Gill is obviously up there in the top 1 or 2 in terms of the amount of product he produced, and a lot of it was very good. He wrote a majority of the stories in this book. Some of the stories in this book were written for an Italian comic book publisher and were translated, so obviously Joe Gill didn't have anything to do with those. But by and large, that's only 3 of the books contained in here. And actually, the art in those books is quite outstanding. So again, The Phantom, Charlton, Volume 4. We're 1 book away from the Don Newton Phantom. Available in 2 or 3 weeks. Any questions? Give us a call or email us. That's all for now.